talk about the second and third one. So they sort of go hand in hand. So if you look at the second one, that is a practical. So I'm going to open this up and we're going to quickly go through it together so we're all understanding of what's required for the second one. So this one is due towards the end of this term, which is not too far away anyway, but let's go through it. So if the first one was a planning type of assignment, the second one is actually a doing type of assignment, okay? So if the first one was all about planning how this company was going to upgrade from Windows 8 to Windows 10 and how we were going to transfer the data from the old existing computers to the new computers, this is actually doing it. So if you look at this, you can see that the overview is that we have to install a desktop operating system and applications. We need to back up and restore the user profiles and data. And we need to configure the desktop environment with network and security settings and use command line interface to run some commands and scripts that meet the business requirements, and then monitor and test the desktop environment and functionality and using performance diagnostic tools. So that's the general gist of it. So let's actually have a look. So if you remember, we gave you a Windows 8 machine, didn't we? A Windows 8 machine, that sort of represents the existing computers with existing users on them, existing user profiles and their data. Okay, so if you want to think about it, it's like your home computer, if you like, and you're going to put a new operating system on there. There's also a Windows 10 Consumer Edition ISO. So this one, so for the purpose of this subject, we don't want you to waste your product key or anything like that. And if you're required to enter a product key, you know that we can skip that step and put it in later. So if you have to, just skip the product key entry. But if you really want to use if you really do want to use a serial number, you should know, or if you don't know, I'm telling you now. As students of TAFE SA, you have access to some software for free. And if we go to the IT Studies Home, which should be part of all your courses, so this is general informational page for any IT Studies student all together, there is a software for students link right here. And there's an IT Studies NAS external access instructions right here. So those NAS that we talked about, where you can get those virtual machines and other things from, you can access it from home as well. But if we look at this, there's two places. There's one which is for Microsoft. This is this Azure for Education. And if I click on this link, what you should be able to do is you should be able to sign in with your TAFE SA credentials. Okay, your same username, password that you would use for your TAFE computers or your Learn site or your Wi-Fi or any of those things is the one that you can actually sign in into this website. Okay, so it's all linked up to your TAFE SA single sign-on. So once you're in here, it's you get a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, there's plenty of stuff that you may or may not want, but obviously you'll eventually possibly want to use it. So one of the biggest things is the operating systems. Okay, so if we go to software here, so if you can't see at the back, I'll zoom in a little bit. There's an area called software on the left, and there it is, a whole heap of stuff, all sorts of stuff, and you can see there's, yeah, it's loads. So if I, for example, want to search for operating systems, I might just say, hey, I don't want any operating system. I'm going to say Windows. And if I'm going to category, I'm not going to search all categories. I'm going to search operating systems, and then I can do searches like that as well. And obviously I can zoom out, I can sort of expand that column a bit and find that I've got Windows 10, various versions. I've got Server 2016, Data Center Essential Standard. I've got Server 2019, and I've got various other things as well. So, but if you actually click on 19, for example, And what happens is that you'll get a key, you get a download link, and you can download the ISO, and you can view your key. I'm not going to reveal my key right now because obviously this is going to be part of a video, and I just don't want my key to be used up by someone else. Just be careful, you only get one key for each operating system. Use it where you see fit. Could be on your personal hardware, any of those, but that's one place. Another place is this VMware workstation. So hopefully you all would have received an email from VMware or a cycle on the hub, and it would ask you to complete your registration. So click on the complete registration. Once you complete it, you log into the on the hub online store, and you can buy VMware products. And the great thing is the price is free for you guys. But that's only on a 12-month guarantee, which means it only lasts for 12 months unless you're a student with us still after that. So you can get all of those things for your home computer and your devices. But let's get back to our assignment. So let's go through it together. So for, overview, you are required to complete the following according to the EC business requirements. That's obviously Earthy's confectionery. Install and configure Windows 10 Pro on 2 virtual machines. One virtual machine will act as the office administration file server, and the other as a desktop PC. When we say file server, it's really a Windows 10 configured with file shares. That's what it is. It's not a server operating system, okay? So don't get confused with that. It's just a Windows 10 computer acting like a computer that's sharing files and folders. It's more like a peer-to-peer network than a server-client network, so don't get confused with that. Prepare the workstation PC, desktop PC with as a reference computer to capture the image and build other clients, other systems. So basically, we know that from some of the ways we can deploy the operating system is to actually image, capture settings, and then deploy over a network to loads of other computers, okay? We're not expecting you to do that here. Okay, that's not what we're saying, but we're sort of saying if you use this computer as an example machine of how you would set up that image, not necessarily creating the image and then using the image, but this is that golden master, if you like, of a desktop machine that you're going to use as a frame, as the example to deploy onto other computers, okay? So in that case, you need to migrate user account profiles and data and from the old Windows 8 to the Windows 10. So if you remember in the first assignment, you would have looked at the USMT, the user state migration tool. You would have known that you can scan state and back up wherever the settings and the profile as well as the data. And as long as that's somewhere that's accessible by the new machine, you can do the reverse on the new machine, which is the load state, which actually gets those settings and profiles and data and restore onto the new PC. So that's something that's already in the assignment 1 with a link to the documentation. So that's one of those things we want you to research and learn for yourself. Configure the Windows desktop environment, including network and security settings. Generate a interactive legal notice to sign in, and monitoring the Windows 10. So instructions. Read through part A to E of the assessment before you begin the task. So have a good idea of what you have to do as a big picture, because it's unlike the worksheet. It's not going to tell you to do this, do that, do whatever in that order. You sort of have to understand what the things are you need to do and determine the order you do it. Okay, so use the Windows 10 ISO to install a new Windows 10 to a new VM. And what are we talking about, the Windows 10 ISO? That's this one here. Okay, that's that one there they're referring to, not necessarily the one we created. So how do we show that you've done it correctly? You got to sort of save screenshots. Okay, so if you don't know how to do a screenshot, there's a couple of ways. One is to actually, if I make this smaller, is to press the print screen key. Okay, once we do a print screen key, we can actually paste the whole screen. That's too big, isn't it? That's so much information. So I don't like using the print screen key. I'd rather use, if this is the window I want to show, I'll use the alt print screen. And as opposed to capturing the whole desktop, I'm just going to capture the active window. Well, that might be too much as well, because what if what if you just want a little bit of it? So there's actually a snipping tool. So I can just press the Windows button and start typing snipping, and I can launch the snipping tool. That's this thing. I'm not sure if you've ever seen it.
It's also notification area.
Yeah, it's probably many ways of launching the same thing like we've learned with Windows 10. But if I click new, I can actually go, oh, I want to capture this part of what I'm looking at. And now that's what I've got. And now I'll go here and I paste, and that's all I've got. And that's all I need to do. It doesn't matter how you do it, because at the end of the day, I don't care how you do it. You can use another tool, you can use Photoshop, you can whatever. But as long as the key thing is that when you provide me the screenshots, it's actually proving that you have done it correctly. So I don't need to know the step-by-step process, not like the worksheets I'll give you where step-by-step pictures, that's too much. What I want to see is your result, or the part that proves you've done it correctly. So if you're trying to show me the share permissions, well, there's no point showing me every step you took to do the share permissions. What you could do is just go to the downloads folder, for example, go to properties, go to sharing tab. It's not shared, but let me just share it, and go to permissions, full control everyone. Take a print screen of this, take a print screen of this, or even just to take a print screen of this. I can see it's a network share path here. That will show me that you've shared it. Those two pictures will tell me you've shared it, okay? And shared it correctly. So don't need endless amounts of pictures, just enough to show me that you've done it correctly. Think of yourself as the lecturer, and if a student was trying to prove, I know this stuff, what would you like to see? Yep. You should keep the VM, because if, let's say, you don't provide me enough evidence and I go through, I go, oh, he really should have showed me the other thing. Then what you can do is I'll say, oh, not enough, you don't show me this, or you haven't shown me that correctly. Then you go back to that VM and you will take another screenshot and put it into your resubmission. And at that point, you probably want to ask me to come over and say, is this what you want to see for this? And then I'll say yes, or I'll say, oh, no, you should show me this other thing for that part. Okay, so I'm not crazy in the sense that I don't want so many screenshots. I just want the right ones. Okay. Okay. So save your screen captures in the Word document. Include the short description of each screen capture. Like, it doesn't have to be detailed. You just have to say, oh, this is the screenshot for this section. Okay. Because you know what? It's easy for me to know which section you're trying to provide me evidence for than me trying to work out what section it is. And the easier that you make it for me to tick the box to say you've got it, the easier it is for me to pass you, which is what we both want, okay? For example, here, to confirm evidence is your own work, you need to include the screen captures of the VM name. Okay, so basically your name here, ECW10RJ, that's the initials, okay? So obviously for me it will be ECW10AZ. That's the thing with these IT, it's so easy to replicate things, okay? Even the virtual machines themselves can be cloned, copied, etc. Yeah, so let's keep on going. So preparation, create a virtual machine called EC your initials. The virtual machine wizard using these things as we sort of specified in the earlier part of the subject, which is the size, amount of memory, and so forth. And obviously, if I were you, I could use this document itself, and I will put a screenshot of the picture containing information that's showing this. So for example, what could I do to show that? Well, maybe if I went to the settings of a virtual machine, oh, that shows me how much RAM, how many processors, hard drive, all that kind of stuff, doesn't it? You see what I'm getting at? Yep. And then part A, install the the Windows 10 file server, which, like I said, it's a Windows 10 set up to share files. Install according to business requirements. So if you remember that we had the appendix that we gave you earlier, it talks about the business requirements, the the shared folders and so forth. Make sure you put VMware tools on all VMs. That's a general rule. Okay, if that wasn't clear when we talked about it, all virtual machines should have VMware tools. It just makes your life so much easier. Check Windows updates to confirm that the installation is up to date. So obviously, a picture of that could be updates and privacy, and we'll talk about Windows updates. And look at that, that picture says you're up to date, doesn't it? Okay. Create a user accounts and group accounts according to the security policy and your preparation report in assignment 1. Shut down your virtual machines and take a snapshot. Remember, snapshots are virtual machine snapshots now, not the screenshots. Don't be confused. Snapshots are a point in time backup of your virtual machines, right? So at this point in time, I would suggest you be taking snapshots along the way so that if you do something, you take a backup when you're happy with it. And then if you mess up the next section, you can just go back to the previous section and have another go. There's nothing worse than having to start from scratch again, okay? Create a mirrored volume, okay? Set disk quotas as per business requirements. So again, disk quotas, we talked about it briefly and we demonstrated in that video. But obviously, do a bit of research for yourself to if you don't remember. Create the folder structure, set the NTFS permissions, and obviously create the screenshots that proves that's done. Part B, configure the network. So again, here's another create a link clone of your virtual machine base snapshot that you created from that one, and join the Windows 10 and Windows 8 into the same work group. So if you remember, we talked about the idea of peer-to-peer network having a work group, which is a loose collection of the computers in the network. You use the command line tool to establish an IP address, and so basically, how do I find out the IP address of a computer? That's detecting whether there's connectivity. How do you find out an IP address of your computer? ipconfig all /all, okay? That will show me all of that stuff. Capture it, okay? Use the information from step 3 to manually assign an IP address and subnet mask and default gateway of all your free VMs. So basically, we know that, hopefully you know, that if they're all on the same subnet, they should all have the same subnet mask, same gateway, same DNS. It's just that the IP address is a little bit different at the end. It's the first 3 octets, same. Last octet, if it's class C, it's different. Obviously, hopefully, are you guys all doing 4CRS6? Yeah, so hopefully you guys doing it? Yeah, so you know all about IP addressing now, isn't it? Probably a lot more detailed than what I went into initially. Yeah, exactly. Okay, exactly. So it's a lot more detailed than what I said, but essentially to get us going, what I said was still accurate. Okay. Yeah, configure the share permissions as the business requirement says. If you remember that appendix, it says the different access levels. Test access the network share from your Windows 10 and Windows 8 clients. So basically, both of them should be able to access the same shares. And obviously, we talked about user migration tool, user state migration tool, should I say. So if both of them, think about this for a second, if both the Windows 8 and the Windows 10 can access that file server Windows 10, wouldn't I go to Windows 8 and use the user migration tool and use the scares state and back it up to the Windows 10 file server? You get me? Then I jump onto the Windows 10, the new Windows 10 workstation, if you like, and I still can access that file server Windows 10, and then I use the load state and I put it back onto the new computer, right? So use that file server as that intermediary storage device. You could have used any type of intermediary storage device. This is just another way, okay? Sorry, that's this part. So basically, that's going on with that. Provide the captures as usual. Configure the desktop environment and security. Install the software. I'm not going to tell you how to suck eggs, because basically, I think everyone here should know how to install Acrobat, Firefox, or VLC Media Player. It's follow the wizard. Get it done. That's about it. And then we have to set the default applications for these type of files. So that's basically, if you have a file with MP3, let's have a look at this. This is MP4. You can see it's sort of linked to VLC anyway. But I can right click on it, properties, and I can see it opens with here. I can change it. I can change it to whatever app I want. Let's change to that. I know that's silly, but if I change it to that, you can see the icon changes. And if I double click on it, it's not going to work, obviously. All right, it's definitely not going to work. But that's how we change the default apps. As one way, should I say, of changing the default apps. I'll change it back. VLC is the default, and that's just one way. There's probably other ways, and do a bit of research if you want to do it all at once. Or you can just go in one at a time and do it like that. Set the power options. So we spoke of power options previously. According to the configuration and security policy, which is another policy that's available. Install, which is part of that appendix, sorry, that we spoke about earlier. Install the network share. Install the shared printers, should I say? And configure the Windows Defender, anti-malware, as well as according to the security policy, which is in the appendix. Implement the settings to apply business security requirements according to the configuration security policy. Again, Microsoft Edge, browser security, the legal notice. Legal notice is basically a bit of information before you sign in. I could display custom legal notice at startup in Windows 10. I could plug that in. I could plug that in into my Google, and here's one. Let's look at it, and it tells you how to do it basically. Okay, there's plenty of resources. Obviously, if it's talking about using group policy, we're not going to use that. We don't have a server. We don't have Active Directory. So it has to be the per computer way, which is the regedit. Okay, and if you look at what's the results, the picture looks like a little bit like that. That's not a great picture actually. Let's actually go back here and look at images. This is what it probably would look like if you've done it correctly. Okay, here's the instructions anyway, but that's what it may look similar to that. So again, if it's not immediately available to you, as in how you do it, a bit of research. Go through the notes, go through the PowerPoints, go through the worksheets. You'll find most things are already there. If not exactly how you want, it's probably somewhere quickly you can find up anyway. Then there's a Nova Bench, which is a website. This program, and install it to your computer. It allows you to actually monitor, not just monitor, but allows you to help you monitor your computer. Root through this and have a look at creating the monitor to work out if your computer is working at an adequate level. And you'll find, because it's a brand new computer that you're deployed and you're not doing too much on there, you're probably fairly happy that it's actually going to work at a proper level. We can use the event viewer to look at some events, and use the support page to actually provide any analysis of any of the events. It's basically look at the events, see if you can find one that you're interested in, go to this website, plug in the error code or the event ID, and see if you can give a description in your own words. So this is more like what you'll do in real life. More like what you'll do in real life, because let's say I have a problem, I have no idea, so 1132, and I've just made that up, by the way, but if that was the event ID, okay, error code 1152, it's close. You could read through this and you can look at what is the problem, a description, steps, resolutions, but basically this is just summarizing in your own words quickly, not pages of work, just a quick summarization. Here's another problem. Windows fails to boot. You suspect the application or driver is causing an issue. Oh, what could we do? Maybe we could boot into the safe mode and roll back the drivers or uninstall the drivers that we previously installed. maybe that's just one suggestion. You'll see that that's going to come up in a couple of lessons time when we cover recovering Windows 10. And here's a Technic script, and basically we've mentioned PowerShell all the time, and you'll have a whole subject in PowerShell, but this is a bit of research for you to see how you can actually use this PowerShell that will help you monitor and test the system. For example, so including the following script, link to the script summary page, describe how the script works. So again, it's a bit of research and you reporting back. Okay, guys? So I'm sure you'll have questions, especially once you have a look at it for yourself. But obviously, if you have questions, ask me next time and I'll clarify for you and for everyone else. And if you look at that other assignment, let's have a look at the other one quickly as well. This is a documentation assignment. So basically, in any workplace, you as IT support may provide documentation to your users. And basically, this part of this other assignment is actually once you've actually built your systems, basically create part A, end user documentation. So tips of the day: use Windows. So Windows 10 file naming rules and conventions. So you have to sort of give them. Create some documentation in regards to that. So each of your documentation should have report format, table of contents, title page, and consistent styles. Okay, so it's nothing worse than having one document look totally different to another document. Okay, so yeah, so have a look at this as well for homework, and if you need any help, let me know. Not help, clarification. I'll talk to you about it next week. Next week.